What's going on, everybody? Jeff C here. Today I'm talking about pretty much my favorite book of 2025. It's a book that was written it was written about 104 years ago, but I think initially published 100 years ago in 1925. The book, I'm just going to get right into it. The book that I am talking about is We by Yevgeny Zemyatin. This is a novel that really surprised me by the amount of my attention that it held, and it really forced me to read slowly. You know, it was not easy to just burn through this book. And not because necessarily like it's hard to read, it's just I was so like captivated by it that I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything that was being communicated to me. This was, like I said, initially written in 1921 and published in 1925. Gregory Zilberg was the first person to provide an English translation that came in 1925, because Yevgeny was, he escaped the early 1900 Russian Revolution. And so when he was publishing this, he couldn't publish in Russia. As a matter of fact, it didn't even appear ever in Russia until 1988. So that's insane. However, the first Russian text was published in 1952. It just wasn't available in Russia until 1988. I'm just going to read the little blurb on the back for you. Set in the 26th century AD, Zemyatin's masterpiece describes life in the regimented totalitarian society of one state, ruled over by the all-powerful benefactor. The inspiration for George Orwell's 1984, We is the archetype of the modern dystopia or anti-utopia. A great prose poem detailing the fate that might befall us all if we surrender our individual selves to some collective dream of technology and fail in the vigilance that is the price of freedom. And, I will say that despite this being written in the early 20th century, it really does feel modern, especially this particular translation, which I highly recommend. This was initially transcribed by Clarence Brown, and it has an introduction. This is the Penguin Press or Penguin Classics edition. They also have a hardcover, but this is the one I picked up when we were in Austin a while back. And it's funny because I actually had to buy this twice. So I had taken this book with me to Denver when I went, and I did the video of the Capitol Hill bookstore in Denver. And on the way home, I had it, and something happened when I was getting off the plane. I don't know. I thought I had it in my hand. I remember getting my bag, and then I walked off the plane and kind of went to a seat, and I was kind of getting everything settled. And somewhere in that shuffle, I thought I put it in my bag. And then later when I got home, I just couldn't find it. It was nowhere in my bag. So I don't know what happened to it. And it sucks because I was doing a pretty good amount of annotating. This second copy I have here, I've only annotated one little thing that I just, because, when I did my my best books of 2025 video, I read a paragraph out of here. And so I kind of just went through and found, and it wasn't very hard to do, just to find another little passage that I wanted to share, just to kind of showcase the language held within these pages. So, yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. I bought like a Kindle edition, and it's weird. I found this version on Amazon, and then I went to the Kindle right there in the selection, and when I got the Kindle, it was a different translation, and I don't know, it just wasn't hitting quite the same. So I personally will vouch for the Penguin Classics translated by Clarence Brown. This is the one I feel like, yes, you should check out. And again, like I said, like this, it went by fast. I mean, it's not a big book. It's only 199 pages, and I still went through it kind of fast, even though I didn't really read it fast. I don't know. I just helped me stay hyper aware while I was going through this one. And I was thinking about earlier, I was like, this might be a book I read every year. And so, yeah, it's like the prose here, it forces you to slow down, and you want to like sit with the ideas that are showcased here. And I haven't read a lot of dystopian works, and so I'm kind of glad to have gone back, because sometimes you read a work and then later you read something that preceded it and you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see where this other work kind of built from. And so it's cool. And so, yeah, I've never read 1984. I've read Animal Farm a long time ago. So I'm going to revisit that one also. But it'll be nice to read this, or having read this, check out like 1984, and then I'll reread Animal Farm, of course. And who knows, maybe in between dystopian novel reads, I might read this one, just because, like I said, you could, if you really wanted to, especially if you're familiar with it, I feel like you could read this in a weekend. So yeah, who knows, that might be something that I utilize, as kind of sandwiching this between dystopian novels, just to see. So our setting here, like I said, you're in one state. It's the 26th century AD. There was like a 200-year war where people were basically fighting for their souls, and I guess the machine won. Now people don't even have names like what we're used to. They have more of like a combination of letters and numbers. And so apparently, if I remember correctly, all the men have like consonants and then a dash and then a number. So like our main protagonist's name is D503. But then all the women have vowels and then, whatever their numbers is. So like D503 is, and everybody is assigned a lover by the state. And not only are you assigned a lover, but it's on the calendar every month. This is when y'all can meet, and she has to have a ticket that has to be stamped in order for you guys to meet up in the apartment and put the shades down for 1 hour. Otherwise, the shades and everywhere are up, and you can see inside everyone's apartment at all times. Nice. There's another female, I-330, who's more like a rebel that our protagonist meets, and she kind of introduces him to a few things. Alcohol being one of those, which it's like totally illegal to own or consume alcohol by death. Like pretty much any of these kind of things that you do, you're just dead. But our protagonist has a little, meets her, and they have a little time. And so this passage I'm going to read to you here is just the first time that he ever had alcohol, and the way that he describes it. I just really want you to pay attention to like just the way that he describes things. This is so awesome. Unbearably sweet lips, the liquor, I suppose. And I tasted a swallow of burning poison, and another, and I broke free of the earth, a free planet, whirling furiously down, along some orbit yet to be calculated. The rest I can describe only approximately, only with the help of more or less close analogies. Somehow this never entered my head before, but this is really how it is. We on Earth are walking the whole time above a boiling crimson sea of fire, hidden down there in the bowels of the earth. But we never think of it. And then suddenly, the thin shell beneath our feet seems to turn to glass, and suddenly we see. I became glass. I saw into myself, inside. And like that way that like that little kind of side tangenty little analogy that he does here, he does that several times in the book, and I just really think that is so beautiful. And I love the way that he describes that feeling of basically being intoxicated for the first time, and how it really made him feel himself, you know. I mean, I'm sure the first part of that was just the burning in his actual stomach, depending on what it was he was drinking. But yeah, so I mean, it's just, the whole book is filled with just that type of really awesome prose, you know. And so I was wondering earlier if like, is it just because like, as a sort of like late bloomer in reading like this type of stuff, is what I've been exposed to this whole time so far just kind of on a level to where if I go back 100 years, and what was this just normal writing, is it just that much, like, is it so flowery or whatever the word is, to like that it just makes that much of an impression on me? Or is it actually just Zemyatin's actual way that he wrote, or Clarence Brown's way he translated it? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's awesome. I love it. I think you would love it. So definitely check it out. I will say this is kind of like this book, it tells you what to think, you know. It like, it lays out the way things are in that society, and I don't know, it almost produces like just a visceral reaction. If you imagine, like, it's kind of claustrophobic almost to me, like, at least it wouldn't be cool. I'd hate it. You know, and I almost wonder if like one state could be analogous to like a corporation nowadays, you know, because there's a lot of companies you work for, the bigger the company, the less room there is for humanity or people being individuals. You know, you have to fit within the box. And, you know, I get it. I mean, the corporation exists for a certain result to show up. So, you know, but I guess if you put yourself in that corporation, then that's what's to be expected. So, yeah, if you're interested in any kind of dystopian fiction, if you've never read any, I would highly suggest reading again, Yevgeny Zemyatin. And I don't know how many times I had to say this guy's name to like get it it still doesn't flow off the tongue. But yeah, if you want to understand the roots of the dystopian genre, I would start here, you know, and I would start with this version. It's a challenging, thought-provoking work. However, it does reward patience, so take your time with it. Don't think just because it's 200 pages, you got to read it in a weekend or any first time, especially, you know, just sit with it, see what it does to you. If you have read I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments about what you thought of it. And if you have not read this might be a perfect time to go back to the beginning of dystopian genre. So check it out. Again, I'd love to interact with you in the comments. So, and thank you thank you to all the subscribers that I've had. 2025 is coming to a close. I got some pretty good plans for 2026, some of which I posted a few reading plans in the last video that I uploaded. So if you haven't watched that, please check it out and let me know what you plan on reading in this next year. You know, I'll be starting, actually in January, I'll be starting that Rift War saga with Mike's book reviews. I mean, just alongside him, he's going to be reading it. But right now, actually, and probably not the next upload that I do after this one, but I'm finishing a novel that I actually started a year ago. So it's going to be interesting to tell you guys about that story. But I do have another book that I finished that I will upload a review for here in the next week or so. And then probably the review after that will be that novel. So things coming down the pike. again, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Goodreads, Instagram, and I look forward to interacting with you. Peace.